Hello, interwebs. It's going to be an interesting discussion because I'm going to show you little bits of two different things, and I'm going to show you something I do, and has to do with initiative and combat, playing Dungeons and Dragons, or actually any RPG. I use it in obviously with White Star, White Box, Swords of Wizardry Complete. I do it with actual 5e as well. It's just the easiest way to actually run combat, and it's quick, it's fast, just get it done. So if you go to my webpage, drduick.com, you click on the Atomicosahedron, and you should be able to come here and see everything I'm going to talk about. So the official style of combat in Swords and Wizardry, and that's what I'm looking at, is set up this way, where you actually have different phases. And if you're really interested, you can click through here, and I'll show you exactly how it all plays out from beginning to end. There's actually a video that goes extensively through this. It might be worth your while to go through it if you want to see what that holds, okay? There's also something came out by Mike Merles, which is the Greyhawk Initiative. Once again, this is a lot more cumbersome to use, but I just show you how it would play out if you had several characters running several segments of battle. And there's a video for that. You can go check that out if you want. With those two things said, what do I like to use when I'm actually playing with my groups? And like I said, I play from middle school kids to high school kids to adults. There's a certain way I like to run a thing, and it makes the most sense. It is the easiest, and it's all about immersion and not slowing things down with minutia. I know human beings like to play with the numbers, but this is the quickest and easiest way that I've been able to do this. So just looking at this, this is my house rules for initiative and combat. So this is the Swords and Wizardry. This is Matt Finch from 2008. And page 36, this is how original D&D, this is how it was done. You have 6 different steps. Check for surprise, both sides roll. If they roll 1 or 2, they're surprised, I think is how it was done. Next thing was declare the spells, then determine initiative by each group rolling a d6, and the higher one goes first. Then you have a movement and missile phase, and a melee and combat spell phase. And the round's complete, and it keeps repeating itself. You can go back and look at my other videos where I actually do the flow charts that show characters in this style of combat. I do it quite differently. And like I said, it makes it much easier for my groups, especially with kids, to do this, right? First of all, what can you do when you're in combat? You could either attack, right? And you get an action. Action can be something like drinking a potion if it's a vial attached to your belt, or change weapons. These are things you can do, right? You can attack, then move 20 to 30 feet. You can cast a spell. These are easy things, right? So now you have a couple of things where you don't move or don't attack. One's just hold, and you could do an action. I'm not going to attack. I'm just going to drink a potion, right? That means you're waiting to find out what happens with the other party. Another one is you can parry, which is an action done by fighters, which I like, in which they get in between the attackers, let's say the monsters, and the magic user, and protect them. And this is page 14 in Swords and Wizardry. Kind of talk about what this is. You just basically are preventing your magic user from being killed, or somebody that's being hurt, or you're trying to defend these unarmed people. These are actions fighters can do, right? The last group right here is you move first, then you do things like you move, then attack, or move and then hold, or move and then parry if you're being a fighter. Those are the actions you could do. It just seems like the most organic way of doing this, right? And to kind of show what would happen in a case, the rest of it just takes place with just d6 rolls, and you're doing dexterity order. So in the beginning, I let the party decide. I think they should huddle up. They get 1 minute. I have a 1 minute sand timer. And they basically have to decide what they're going to do before 2d6 are rolled. And the monsters, which is me, I like to actually write this stuff down on a little post-it note or a note card, like a little post-it note like this, and write down what I'm going to do. So I'm not changing my actions because of basically what they said. They can talk, I do my thing, whatever. And then I open it up and I show them the order in which I'm going to run my encounter. And the reason why I do that is to keep it, all punches above the belt. You're trying to make sure everything's on even playing field, right? So one player for that whole session, let's say you're going to make the assassin here, Blackleaf, is going to be in charge of doing 2d6 rolls for not just them, but also the monsters. It's a real easy way of doing this. So the darker of the two dice, I have a black one, I have a yellow one. The black one's for the monsters, the yellow one's for the party. They're really big, huge, like 30 millimeter D6 dice. So they stick out on the board. We always know what those two are used for. That player's going to roll, and the bigger number goes first. It's very easy, right? And then the winners take their actions in descending order based on their dexterity. And then the lower number goes. It's really quick, quite forward. I always make ties go to the actual adventuring party because I just do that because, you know, I'm the dungeon master and I just feel like, yeah, they should always get to go first. And, simultaneous hits and all this stuff, it's just too much to keep track of. I just say, okay, you guys go first, easy. Or you can make a reroll if you want. Well, someone always goes through. That's just, it's a style thing that I do, right? So let's give him a scenario. I like scenarios. Here's Blackleaf, the assassin, wants to flank an owlbear from behind. He's on +4 to attack, which will give him double damage with his polearm, right? While Genosis, the barbarian, and Red Dawn, the fighter, want to attack the owlbear head-on, distracting her. Gladrail, which is a magic user out of range, 40 feet away, is going to actually cast a spell, say magic missile. So the DM rolls a 3-sided dice. This is what I do, and I count people. In this case, it'd be Blackleaf, Red Dawn, and Genosis to find out who the owlbear is going to attack. I make it random. I like to randomize everything all the time because I don't show preference towards anything when it comes to this. If, say, the owlbear decided it was going to attack Blackleaf first, Blackleaf would lose its ability to do the backstab because owlbear saw you moving back there, turned, went after you, right? So Blackleaf is now in charge with initiative for that session. I can roll 2d6. There's a light green one, there's a dark blue one. So dark blue is a 6. The monster's going to win the initiative. So the owlbear is going to attack first. Rolls 3 d20s because I like to have multiple color dice. In this case, it'd be 2 would be black ones for the claws and a white one for the beak. They all miss Genosis. Genosis is the one that actually got chosen for its attack. So now the party takes its turn. So Blackleaf, highest dexterity, goes first. Then Red Dawn, Genosis, and finally Gladrell. Very straightforward, this style of doing things. And people can, if you have a group of kids, like I had a group of 12 kids playing a game one time, everyone sat in the order of the initiative, and people knew their turns coming up. Nothing's worse than waiting for someone to, now they're going to go look their spell up, whatever. It just takes forever. Just people want to have the game move. They don't want to be stuck doing things. Like that's why if you go back and look at the Greyhawk initiative, with 3 people, they might like it, but if you have 12, there's no way you can do that. It's just too big. And even rolling a D20, like in 5e, everybody determining their initiative based, and they get their dexterity bonuses and also this stuff. It's still going to come down most of the time to the person with the highest dexterity going first. If you just kind of set it up that way, you can have the game move a little faster when it comes to combat. Some people hate combat because it's slow. I try to keep it fast and moving, and people tend to enjoy it. Now, there's something that keep in mind here, right? It's the fog of war, and that's what makes the game fun, right? Is that once actions are declared before the 2d6 are rolled, they cannot be changed. You have made a decision. For example, there's an evil cleric named Talik, right? He attacks the party with 2 acolytes. The party decides they will attack Talik first. They all said, let's get him first because he could cast spells. So that's it. They have one target. So let's say Blackleaf goes from behind, he's an assassin. It's going to +4 to hit, double damage, and rolls a critical 20. Inflicts the maximum damage times 2, which is 24 hit points, I guess in this case, instantly killing Talik. Well, this is where the fog of war takes place. The rest of them, Red Dawn, Genosis, and Gladrell, have already decided they were attacking Talik. They cannot take and change their minds now. So they cannot switch their targets and say, well, we're going to go for the acolytes now because Talik's dead. No, you've decided that's where you're going to go. This is where you have to kind of hold fast to that so you don't change it. You don't change your attack. So once you write things down as a dungeon master, put on a notepad, put down, you keep, and if you guys keep it that way, it makes the game more interesting. It's like you almost have to think a couple steps ahead and a little more strategies involved. You just don't just change things at random, right? The acolytes are still going to make their attack before they have to do a morale check because they just lost Talik. So, it's a fog of war. They just charged forward. They don't know what went on behind them. They don't know if he died or lived or whatever. So the idea behind it was like you want to keep it in this manner. It makes the game a whole lot more fun for some reason. And sometimes people don't realize that, but sometimes swords, arrows, and magic missiles will hit a dead enemy. It's just kind of how things end up, With that, this is, like I said, this is my favorite way of playing it, and I use this not in just in Swords of Wizardry. I've done it in 5e. I do White Star. It's another beautiful game, white box style thing, lots of fun. I've really just bought the hardback version of White Box, a fantastic medieval adventures game. This is really fun, especially for solo play. I might do a video on that. And here's the White Box Omnibus. This is by Spawn, who actually wrote White Star. You have to kind of realize that the mechanics of the games can be fun, but it stops being fun if it gets so much that people lose their attention. They feel like it's not going fast enough. They get bored. They yawn a lot or start playing with their phone at the table. You're probably doing something wrong. You need to step your game up by making it just more organic, more flow to it. With that interwebs, like I said, that's pretty much covers how I would run initiative and combat, or initiative in combat when you're playing Dungeons and Dragons or any RPG, right? With that, you have a wonderful day.